Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'm going to be creating two A2 size pop-up book cards, and these are the supplies that I'm using. They're all by Scrappy Tales, and I will have everything listed in the video description. I'm using quite a few products because I'm going to be creating two books today, and I'm also going to use some hot foil plates, specifically these letters and the fairy dust swirl. So I'm going to start by creating my galaxy backgrounds. So I have Chipped Sapphire, Salty Ocean, Twisted Citron, and Picked Raspberry. I did show a slowed down video last Tuesday on how I create these backgrounds, but basically I start with Chipped Sapphire. I go around the edges of the panel with that, and then I take my Salty Ocean and just pick random areas to add color. I'm not getting a super great blend. It's pretty messy, but once you add the black on top and then the pearlescent watercolor splatters, it's going to look pretty seamless. So I just went over with Picked Raspberry and now Twisted Citron. And then here I'm pulling in my black soot and just pretty much covering, I would say, like 3/4 of this panel with black. I know it's kind of scary and it looks messy, but that is what creates that nebula galaxy look. So you can see I have quite a few of these panels already blended. So I'm going to splatter on my stars all at once. And this is Pearlescent Watercolor by Gonzai Tombi. I really like it. It's pretty opaque for a watercolor and it has a beautiful shine. If you want brighter stars, you can definitely go with like a white gouache or a white acrylic paint. And then if you want larger stars, you can use a larger paintbrush. But I'm just using one brush here and I'm getting some bigger ones, but mainly some smaller stars here. So on the panels that I want a couple extra stars, I just keep splattering. And that is basically how I make the galaxy backgrounds, and I'll be using those on both cards today. And once those are all finished, I did do all of my die cutting for these two cards off camera, including my two pop-up books. And I used the Scrappy Tales pop-up book die set. I'm going to create a black and a white book, so I'm going to show you how I made the black one. I cut the main panel from the die twice from lightweight black cardstock, and then I cut the accordion 4 times from lightweight cardstock. And I want these to be A2, so I'm going to trim them down. So for the book covers, I am trimming them down by 1/2 inch, and I'm cutting to the right of the 2 score lines. You want to make sure that those 2 score lines on the ends stay intact, because that is going to create the rounded spine. I also trimmed them down to 5.5 inches tall. Currently they're 7 inches for an A7 card. I'm going to do the same for these accordion pieces. So I'm cutting 2 of the pieces down to a little bit less than 4.25, just so that it's easier for me to glue inside the book. And then also 2 of them I cut a little bit smaller than 5.5 inches. And then the 1/2 inch score lines will create the accordion fold. I'm going to start by creating the book cover first, and I'm just reinforcing the score lines. And then I'm going to add tape to one of the 2 panels, and you can see this is how it goes together. I'm going to add tape to the right side of the score line. So basically the small side. That large side over to the left is going to be what you decorate. So I added lots of tape here because this is essentially what's holding the whole book together. I'll remove the backing of the tape, and I'm also going to add glue just in case I don't line it up straight. I'll have a little bit of wiggle room. And here I'm just gluing that other panel with the 2 score lines right over the same score lines on the panel with the tape. And that is going to create your front back cover as well as the spine of the book. And now we're going to work on the pages or the outer walls of the shadow box. And these are the 4 accordion pieces. So I'm going in and reinforcing all of those score lines before I start going back and forth creating the mountains and valleys. I like to do this just because it just trains those score lines and it makes it easier to do that accordion fold. So once those are reinforced, I start from the bottom. I flip, fold up, flip, fold up, flip, fold up. That is all you do until you get all the way to the top. And you can see every couple flips and ups, I guess, I reinforce them with my bone folder. You're gonna want some crisp edges here so that your book can fold flat. All right, so that was a shorter piece. That was a 4¼ inch piece, and this is the taller 5½. So I'm doing the same thing, reinforcing those score lines. And then I will just repeat the same process where I fold up and then flip, fold up and flip. And right when I got to the very end, I gave myself a massive paper cut. So you'll see that, I'll point it out. It's literally the right at the end when I go over it. So just be careful with those sharp edges. All right, so I have my 4 pieces here and I folded down the end tabs. And then the way you connect them is you intertwine the mountains and valleys, and then you just push against both of the pieces. So the bottom one you push up, and the one that's over to the side you push to the right, and they just fit perfectly together. You are gonna wanna make sure to adhere them though, so that they don't fall apart. So I have these little squares that I cut from my strong double-sided tape. I'm going to lift up those 2 tabs. So one of them I lifted from the shorter piece and one from the longer piece. And then I'm just going to connect the corners with those small squares of tape. Now you can go over the entire strip if you want, if you don't want your book as dimensional, but I like that the center is a little bit more puffy than the sides, so I like to just add them to the front and back corner. And you are going to want to make sure you get the back too, to make sure that it's nice and secure. And you're going to just repeat that process for the other 2 pieces. I'm going to attach my other long piece to the right side now. And here I'll show you that they just connect together perfectly. And so what's really cool about this die set is that you can create multiple sizes. So the actual set is sized for an A7 pop-up, but just by cutting the pieces down, I'm able to create an A2 size, and you can do a 4.75 by 4.75 square book. You can do a mini slimline book, really any size that's smaller than an A7. And I'm making my A2 cards a little bit bigger because the spine of the book is going to account for ½ an inch. You can avoid that by cutting your book cover a little bit shorter, but then you have less space to decorate. So I personally like to leave my book cover the size of the A2 base, but it's up to you. I will say that these cards, despite using the lighter weight cardstock, are still 2-dimensional to be mailed. So these would be cards that you hand deliver. You can also obviously mail them in a bubble mailer. You can convert them into gift boxes. So if you want to, add jewelry or money inside your books, you can do that. I think that would be cute. But we were actually considering to release this pop-up for Christmas because we thought it was so fun. And ultimately we knew with Midsummer Night's Dream, since it's a play, it was perfect for the theme. But I'll tell you guys that there is going to be add-ons. Our Christmas collection this year is super traditional. So I'm imagining like Christmas Carol type books with music notes and gold foiling and poinsettias. I think that would be so pretty. Obviously for Halloween, you can do like a witch's brew book, a potion, or a spell book. So lots of different types of books you can make for the entire year. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Right now I am adding my double-sided tape to the back of my shadow box frame, and I'll just adhere that to the inside of my book cover. But I do have a coordinating blog for this video. I don't normally do coordinating blogs, but I do know that some of you might want like written out measurements to convert your books into different sizes. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll have a link in the video description. And if you purchase this die set, I will also print off that instruction guide so that you have it, with your die set, and you can make your books fast and easy. All right, so I did that trick again, adding the glue because, you need that little bit of wiggle room because it is a tight squeeze. And now that the pop-up is finally created, we can start decorating. So I'm going to be using the Midsummer Night's Dream 3x4 incentive stamp. We do have some of these left, so if you spend $75 or more with Scrappy Tales, you will get this stamp set free. I designed it to look like a book cover. So it has these beautiful branches surrounded by the Midsummer Night's Dream text, and at the bottom it says William Shakespeare. So originally I thought I wanted to stamp it and clear heat emboss it in black, but I just felt like the black didn't really stand out. So I'm going to actually emboss it with silver embossing powder. And I liked how the branches turned out, but I didn't like the text. So I'm going to end up re-stamping the Midsummer Night's Dream text on black cardstock and silver embossing it. And I'll cut it from a circle die and glue it right over this galaxy background. So I'm just heat setting everything. You can see that bottom corner, I smeared off the silver powder. So what I did was I heated up that spot, poured more silver, and then I heat set it again, and that worked out perfectly. All right, so here's the stamp again. I'm putting it on a block this time, and I'm just inking up the text, and I have my black circle here, going to lay it right over the text, and then I'll take a scrap piece of paper to make sure that's nicely stamped. And then I'll pour that same silver embossing powder. I think this is by Ranger, but this is going to stand out a lot more. I'm going to take a paintbrush and remove the branches that's stamped. I just wanted the text. I also die cut 2 heavyweight white cardstock circles you can see over to the right. I'm going to use those to pop up this black circle. I love those silver branches. They match really nicely with the pearlescent stars. And then that's pretty much all I'm gonna do with this front cover. I try to keep my covers relatively simple because there's usually an elaborate scene on the inside of my books. So the only other thing I'm going to do for this panel is embellish it with some silver rhinestones and a couple stars that I die cut. And those stars came from the fairy silhouette die. That one star I just added to the top is a part of the incentive die. And then some of the stars are from the A2 cloud cover plate. So all of the products really work together nicely to create, you know, those nighttime celestial scenes. So here I'm just adhering all of my gems and my stars. And this panel is cut to 4 by 5¼ inches, so it's going to leave a black border all around. And in that coordinating blog post, I'll tell you guys what you need to cut your panels down to for the galaxy pieces. So I had a 4¼ by 5½ inch galaxy piece, and I cut a rectangle from it that leaves a 1/2 inch border all around, and that's going to cover the front of my shadow box. On top of that, I added a Black Forest A2 cover plate, and then the piece that cut from the inside of the frame, I'm going to add to the back of the shadow box wall. I'm going to layer 2 die cut moons. This moon is the incentive die along with the coordinating star, and you'll see the star in a couple seconds here. But this die you get if you spend $125 or more, and then you'll also get that Midsummer Night's Dream stamp. So I have a couple fairy silhouettes. I thought about doing black, but I really liked her cut from silver. I also die cut that same cover plate from vellum, and I thought that this would be nice to kind of tuck further inside the book to add more dimension and depth. And I love that the vellum doesn't distract too much. You can do gray instead. I think that would be really pretty. And then here's that star that comes in that crescent moon incentive die set. Then I have a couple more small stars that I'm going to scatter around the trees. Some of them are glued to the back panel of the shadow box. And then I will just adhere my little fairy girl onto the branch that's connecting the 2 trees on the cover plate. I think this forest die cut is perfect for Halloween cards. You can put an owl on that branch. You can cut the branch off if you want and make more of like a winter card. I could see a lot of different scenes with that cover plate. So I went ahead and glued my moon, and because it's raised up on 2 layers of white cardstock, it does pop off the back panel a bit. Right now I'm adding glue behind this frame because I want to add acetate. You guys know I love my acetate, and some of you were shocked that I didn't have any on my card samples for the showcase, so I had to create a couple with acetate. I love that it makes it look like a box, like a museum box with glass. It's really pretty. I love that shine. So there's my little inside scene. It really wasn't that complicated. I think the silver mirror cardstock really steps it up. And of course, you know, the galaxies did take a little bit of time to ink blend, but I did them all at the beginning. So these were ready to go and adhere. I have another one that I just glued over to the left side to, you know, coordinate. And that is going to finish off my first card, I think. No, I had another galaxy that I glued to the back of the book. This is completely unnecessary. I just love that finished look. I'm even going to add some galaxy strips to the spine of the book. These cards are definitely a work of art. I can't imagine anyone throwing these away. They're perfect to display. They do stand upright. I just love that the outside looks like a book and the inside has that amazing shadow box element. Very cool die set. Like I said, I cannot wait for Christmas cards especially. All right, so our second card is another book and it lights up. So it's an interactive card within an interactive card. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to foil on this one for the front cover. I would not recommend using washi tape to connect your letters together. It actually melted into the letters, so I spent like 20 minutes trying to get the tape off. Would not recommend. What I would recommend is buying the coordinating dies and just die cutting the letters out and gluing them onto your panel. At first I thought, okay, I'm going to try to foil directly onto the panel, but 1, it didn't really stand out, and 2, my word ended up a little bit crooked, so you can definitely try to line these up as best you can, but the dies will make your life a lot easier. So the inside of the book, I wanted to have 2 of my galaxy panels foiled with this fairy dust swirl cover plate. Well, it's not a cover plate, it's a die, but it's definitely meant for the A2 size. And you can see when I remove that foil, it just adds the prettiest shine. I love how it just blends right into the galaxy. There's no white edge. It just looks completely seamless. It looks like it's a piece of pattern paper. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other panel. And what's cool about the Gemini hot foil press is that they will actually, or the machine will cut some of the stars. If you have the glimmer machine, I don't think the stars will cut. I think they will foil, which is also very pretty. But the fact that it cuts is really cool with the hot press, and that is actually where I'm going to hide my lights underneath those cut out stars. So I want to add some dimension to my letters. I ended up die cutting them with the coordinating dies. I did hand cut the uppercase letters, and then I used the coordinating die from that set to cut 2 white squares to give them a white border. It just really helps them stand out. And then the rest of the letters, the lowercase ones, I die cut 2 additional layers of each letter from white cardstock. And that is going to just give them some more dimension. I love that look. It's super clean. I'm not really using a lot of foam tape anymore. I'm taking the extra time to die cut extra things. And I think in the end it's worth it. I love that it's even dimension across everything on the card. And you don't see any foam tape from the sides. So I did spell out hello friend, and just like I did on the first card, I'm just gonna accent the panel with some silver stars and some silver rhinestones. And this one is going to have the white border all the way around. Now we're working on the inside. So I have a white A2 cloud cover plate, and I also cut that same plate from vellum And I'm going to offset the vellum behind the white. I thought that was really pretty. It added some more clouds. But what I love about vellum is that you can still see through it, so it's not going to be super distracting. So I did add clouds on either side of the white panel. I didn't bother with the top because I knew I was going to be adding some clouds there. So I just did the two sides. And then I glued my galaxy frame on top. So I created this frame the same way I did on the first card, where I cut a stitch rectangle from the center, and then I'll use the center rectangle for the back of the shadow box. All right, so here we're going to create the light up element. I have some Pear Blossom Press Easy Lights. I have a 5-pack, and I'm going to be buying more because I can't stop making light up cards. I was actually, when designing this collection, I thought about Amanda the whole time, and I was so happy that she agreed to doing a collab with Scrappy Tales. So on July 2nd, there's going to be an inspiration hop featuring her lights and Scrappy Tales stamps and dies. I will be a participant. I cannot wait. But for now, I'm going to show you how I created this card. So I am adding vellum behind the 3 stars that I want to light up. And then I have my light here, and I'm going to hover the light bulb right behind the stars and glue the wire down so that it doesn't move. So I'm just using washi tape here. You can use scotch. I'm actually not going to add foam tape because obviously this is already quite a dimensional card. And I'm going to hide the battery between the pages of the accordion fold. So here I have all my wires nicely adhered down. And then I'm going to try to figure out how to hide this battery. So you can see about half of it was showing right there. So I created this little box. This is about 3 by 1.5 inches, and I scored it at 1/2 inch and at 1.75. And this is going to be like a little container to hide my battery. I cut it from the same galaxy paper that I created, and you can still kind of see it, but I'm going to have a cloud covering it. That's going to be where I stamp push here. And it also blends nicer into the background. So if I didn't point it out, you guys probably would not have noticed it. So yeah, I like how that is. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue the back panel. I will tuck my battery into my pocket here. Well, first I'm gonna glue my pocket. And I made it pretty loose. You can make it tighter, but I didn't wanna I guess smush the battery or make it too tight. And then I'll glue the pocket to the left page and the bottom page. And this is about 2 accordion folds from the back. So it's pretty deep in there, or I guess it's in the center, should I say. I have those top and bottom vellum pieces that I cut, and I wanted to glue those further inside the box. So that's what I'm doing here. I love, with our other pop-ups, you have to use acrylic sticks, and I do use them on occasion with this type of shadow box, but for a lot of designs, you don't need to use them. You can just use the side walls to adhere everything. So that's really cool. That being said, I want these fairies right in the center of this book, so I am going to end up adding some acrylic sticks behind them just for secure reasons. I want them to look like they're floating, and the vellum is just not heavy enough to hold them up. But if you were doing a white cloud instead of vellum, you probably would not have to add any acrylic sticks. But I'm going to. I just kind of tuck 2 of them behind each of the fairies. So one I am adding behind her chest, and I am letting that stick to the left side of the accordion. And I'm using 3-in-1 glue for this. This is very sticky glue, and it takes a while to dry, so you have some wiggle room. And then you can see I added another one to the right fairy. All right, so now we're working on the push here button. So I thought it would be cute to add a cloud. So I cut the outline of the cloud from my galaxy background paper, and then the base of the cloud from white cardstock. This is from the A2 cloud cover plate. And then I'm using a Lawn Fawn Push Here stamp set. I've been using this a lot lately. It's actually on my desk. I have not put it away for a while. And I just took one of the Push Here stamps. I stamped it with Chipped Sapphire ink. And you can see I tried it first directly onto the cloud, but it didn't stamp out well. So I re-stamped it, cut it out, and glued it right on top. I'm going to add acetate behind this frame again. I loved how that looked last time. Completely optional, but it does add such a finished, professional look. All right, so this card is almost done. I have a couple smaller clouds from that A2 cloud cover plate die. I tucked one at the top right, but I am trying to make sure that I'm not covering those light up stars. So that's all I'm going to add. I will attach my frame down and then my little Push Here cloud. And then that will complete my light up shadow box book card. And Amanda also got the book, so I am sure she's going to be creating some light up books as well. So I encourage you guys to check out her YouTube channel. I will have a link in the video description. So here's that other foiled background I had. I thought that would be nice on the left side along with the other fairy silhouette from the set. I think it would be cute to give her a different colored dress, but I do like the way they look cut from one color of cardstock. And then again, I'm going to add the 2 strips on the binding of the book. And this time I left the cover or the back cover blank. So I don't always do the back. I actually didn't have another galaxy background and I didn't feel like making another one, so that one's going to be blank. But this is super cool. Here it is lit up. I love that one is directly behind one of the fairy's wings. I think the foiling on this card adds such a pretty shine. I'm telling you guys, I think foiling is going to become a major trend this year. I have been getting some requests to compare the Glimmer Spellbinders machine with the Gemini Hot Foil Press, and I'm doing it, guys. I bought a Glimmer machine, and I'm going to try to do a really in-depth comparison and also a tutorial for both machines because I know a lot of you are new to hot foiling, so stay tuned for that. It's going to take maybe a couple weeks because I do want it to be a very comprehensive video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't yet already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I post another video. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. Bye.